Hello and welcome to the Dune Minute Podcast, your place to dive deep minute by minute into the cinematic adaptation of Frank Herbert's World of Dune. I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm Zach.
And we are back at it, finishing up the week.
It's Friday!
It is, and we're still feeling a little green inside the back of this ornithopter.
Yeah, man. You just want to dive into it, man. We got a lot.
It's gonna be a doozy of an episode today. Yeah. So let's go for it.
All right, cool. I lied to you earlier before we started recording.
How fucking dare you?
I said that I didn't write any kind of like jokes for the start. This is the only episode that I did write a little thing for.
Yes.
And I said it starts with a door opening and it ends with throats opening.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong. That's what we're going through today. And yeah, this is a jam-packed minute. So we are starting off with, or catching us up from yesterday.
Yep.
We ended with Paul's weak
shitty attempt to use the voice.
Real shitty attempt to use the voice, and him just getting absolutely sucker punched. Jessica is telling him, you got to find the right pitch. And before we can see Paul like do his second attempt, the Harkonnen guards are saying, "Hey, we're far enough. Let's throw the boy out."
Yep.
That's where we're at right now. So this minute, like I said, starts with the door opening. We get one of the Harkonnen guards. I believe this is Chigo.
No, it's our deaf friend.
The deaf friend is okay. So we got
opening the door.
We got Kenneth opening the door. And we know something's about to happen here.
Yep.
Because we get the eerie music cue of magical powers starts to play.
Ooh.
Yeah. Whenever that's going on, we know something weird's about to happen. And we see Paul, really go into that meditative state that I mentioned yesterday.
Yep.
Eyes closed. He's really centering himself.
His knees are weak and his arms are heavy.
Yep. TBD on if there's any spaghetti involved, but
his mom is there, so
she's there.
She could have just pockets full of spaghetti.
And we see Paul open his eyes. He's got the really intense look, and he goes, "Remove her gag."
And it actually works.
And it works. Yay. Look at him. He did it. Huzzah. Huzzah.
So Chigo removes Jessica's gag.
Yeah. And he looks confused as hell at first.
Yep.
He's like, what the fuck is happening? But then he just goes into like zombie mode. He's completely checked out. He's on autopilot.
Yep.
And he walks over and pulls Jessica's gag down.
And then she immediately hits him with the 1-2.
Yep.
And goes, kill him.
As soon as it's off, she does that. Wastes no time.
Yep.
Before we move on, did the other people not hear this? Well, I guess the other one of them definitely didn't hear it. But did the pilot not hear this?
So it's at this moment that the pilot is alerted because the bang of the body hitting the ornithopter back door.
Well, no. So but that takes a couple of seconds to happen. Like it's like Chico's got to go. He walks over to Kenneth and cuts his throat and tosses his body down. That's a good 5-6 seconds.
Not really. It's pretty quick.
But you
also have to remember he's got his headphones on.
Yeah, I guess.
So it might not be as clear.
That's fair.
He's got his headphones and shit on, and I think it's because the body jostles the ornithopter. You see him turn around real quick.
Okay.
He then sees what's happening.
Yeah.
Immediately starts undoing his harness.
Yeah.
At the controls.
Yep.
Jessica immediately goes, "Set us free."
Mm-hmm.
And then Chico begins to cut the binds at Paul's ankles undone.
Yeah.
It's at this moment that the pilot shoves his hand over Jessica's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Stops her from, commanding any further. And then Chigo kind of comes to, but right as he's coming to, Jessica bites the hand of the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul does this little, thing where he, kicks Chigo's legs out from underneath him and trips him. And Chigo just goes face flat onto the floor.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty humorous.
And he hits it hard because he stays down.
Yeah, he stays down for a second. Jessica's still just biting the shit out of this guy's hand.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, because he's wearing a glove.
Yep.
Presumably like a padded glove kind of thing. And she bites through this. She's got like a hell of a jaw.
Well, you know how much force is behind a human bite, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I know it's a lot, but even still.
Crazy how much. Yeah. So there's just an insane amount of bite force that humans have. So like, even if he is wearing the glove, there's just a ton of like pressure that is in there, enough to like really fucking hurt.
I just thought it was
Google
impressive.
says human bite force can exceed 160 psi.
All right, that's a lot.
Which, when you put that behind like the sharpness of some teeth, that's yeah.
So add in like the adrenaline that she's probably feeling at this moment too, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I get it. It's just, it was still like an impressive thing to like bite that hard onto his hand. And as soon as her mouth is free, the guard like starts to come at her, and she goes, stop, cut the rope with the voice. And she's just too good at it. She is so good at commanding this voice that it's not, I won't say it's effortless, but it's just immediate. It's an immediate thing. Like, as soon as she said something, they do it.
I mean, she's got decades of practice on top of Paul. So
yeah, true.
Yeah. But yeah, she goes, stop, cut the rope. The rope around her wrists is then cut. And then she just says, give me the knife. And then she just like, just stabs him in the neck, and he slowly goes down.
Yep.
Jessica cuts her ankles away. And then slashes the throat of Chico.
That's right.
It's so quick, and it all happens just in an instant. But damn, if it doesn't show like how much of a badass Jessica is with, being able to use Bene Gesserit tricks like the voice in conjunction with, her physical abilities as well. So I don't remember how much we've talked about the weirding way.
Next to
much
nothing
at all.
Yeah. Next to nothing.
Admittedly, I was saving it for when we meet Stilgar later on, because he specifically mentions
that's
that
probably
she is a weirding woman. But for now, it would be wrong to say that Jessica doesn't have any kind of combat training, because there is a degree of combat training that she has. And I'm sure, her time with the Atreides, just being around Gurney Halleck, especially given Gurney's affection for Jessica, he probably, gave her some tips and tricks along the way.
Yeah. No, you'd have to imagine so.
Yeah.
So they kick the asses of all these people. And one thing we didn't mention is before the pilot gets up,
he does hit alarm or something.
Yeah. So he turns on like what I assume would be like a distress signal.
Caught up in all the action.
I know. Well, it's important because that's like really fucks him over later.
Yeah.
And as soon as she cuts the throat of the guard on the floor, that's exactly where the minute ends.
Yep.
So I wanted to spend a fair chunk of time just going through how this scene plays out in the books, because it's got a lot of similarities, and it's got some key differences that I think are interesting.
Okay.
So kind of going back to the beginning of this minute with the book. Paul once again uses the voice poorly, but it's enough for Chigo to remove Jessica's gags.
Okay.
So it doesn't do nothing.
Sure.
It does just a little bit. And so he removes the gags. And as soon as her mouth is free, the way that she uses the voice in the books is so different than what we see in the movie.
Okay.
So the movie, we get her going, kill him, cut the ropes, stop that, like very demanding stuff. In the books, it's almost like she starts to have a conversation with them, and it's more like,
is it more like seductive almost?
It is. It really is. She says stuff like, you don't have to fight over me, and you mustn't disagree with each other. Those kinds of things. So it's so much more of like the power of suggestion than it is.
More silver tongued than.
Yeah. Which is why I think they get like, I mean, in the books, they get much more of the, like the Bene Gesserit witch rap, So it's very subtle. It's almost like she is seducing them in a way. And she basically gets into both of their heads at the same time and makes them think that, oh, we're fighting over them right now. So they still do have the moment of like one kills the other. But it is because they are fighting over who gets Jessica instead of like her demanding that one kill the other.
Yeah.
Subtle difference. And I gotta say, I think I like the book version a little bit better. Doesn't play well on screen.
Yeah.
But I like it better as a method, I guess.
Sure. I can see why they did what they did for the movie to like keep the adrenaline and the action high.
Sure.
But I do like that kind of like silver tongue, like sneaky thing going on.
It's cool. So because they're like the two guards, remember in the books, there are 2 guards instead of 3.
Correct.
So they're already fighting in their heads. Because Jessica has told them as much, go ahead, don't fight over me. But she's like putting emphasis.
Don't fight over me, but fight over me.
Yeah. She's like putting emphasis on the words like fight and disagree and stuff like that. So one of the guards, I believe it was Kenneth, tries to like quickly stab Chigo. Yeah. But Chigo like blocks the attack. He's like, you didn't think I would know you were about to do that, and just immediately stabs Kenneth in the heart. So our deaf friend is dead.
Yep, which means that we can still use the voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Chigo then starts to go back to Jessica, and his plan at this point is to kill Paul and then give Jessica the long goodbye.
Yep.
Jessica is saying she's like, I don't do that. Don't do that. And he's like, why not? Why the fuck not? I'm about to just leave you both out here anyways. And she goes, well, if you let my son live and just let him go off, I'm much more likely to reward you. And I just like that level of, again, this is using the voice. Like she's convincing him in that part of his lizard brain to let Paul go.
Yep. So
he does it. He cuts Paul's foot bindings, and as he's trying to push him out the door, they've already landed the ornithopter at this point.
Okay.
As he goes to like push him out the door, Paul does some like crazy, like I don't know, twisting kick.
Paul's just in the corner doing fucking jutsus and shit with his fingers.
I don't know, but I don't know what that means. Whatever. So the passage from the book, and this is just like one sentence on this. He kicks Chigo, and the book says, in the soft part of Chigo's abdomen, just below the sternum, slammed upward with a terrible force over the liver and through the diaphragm to crush the right ventricle of the man's heart.
Holy shit.
So Paul kicks this man to death. I guess doesn't kicks the man to death, just kick the man to death. There's only one kick.
Yeah. What a badass, dude.
Yeah. And
that's some Bruce Lee shit right there.
It's crazy. And then he takes the knife that Chigo is holding, because his hands are still bound at this point.
Yeah.
And he takes the knife in his teeth and uses it to cut Jessica's hand bindings so she can free him the rest of the way.
That's awesome.
So that's how they escape in the books. Paul kicks a man in the chest so hard that he dies.
That makes Paul's like little kick thing to like trip Chigo in the movie like seem like such a bitch move.
Well, that's what I was hoping that they would do in the movie, is like put that in there, because that's fucking cool.
What they should have done, honestly, is like Paul does this little trick move thing, right? And then like he like knees Chigo in the chest as he's going down, and like crushes him or something, or crushes the sternum, which then like goes into his heart. Yeah, and kills him that way.
That would have been a lot
but
more.
We're PG-13 over here. So,
yeah, I guess.
I think we are.
Yeah, it's PG-13. Yeah. So, but I
would love a rated R Dune.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. So yeah, that's how they escape in the books, and it's really cool. I mean, it's a cool scene. It's a super important scene for obviously since they escape the clutches of the Harkonnens, but it's a meaningful scene on a very deep level that we will talk about later. Another little tease for people.
You're teasing everyone on a Friday episode.
I know, and this is going to be a weeks long tease because we're not going to get to the point why this is important until almost the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, just remember the stuff that I've said here, and I'll remind everyone when we get back to it. But it is a very important scene in the book, a dope ass scene in the book or in the movie. So I'm not mad at it at all. It's cool. They escape in a really cool fashion. But that's kind of that's kind of how that scene plays out in the books.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's different enough in the movie to, like I said earlier, like keep the high stakes and the high, tension of that scene, without Jessica like being all seductive about it all and everything. But, I can see why the book version is more interesting.
Yeah.
To people.
That's it, man. All right. Well, that's those are all the notes that I had. And like I said, I had a lot of notes. Most of my notes this week came from those from the book comparison section. I just wanted to paint that picture for everyone. So, what in the world would you rate this week, my friend?
We got Duncan Idaho being a fucking badass, but a lot of it's, the rest of the week, other than a 10-second stint of the Harkonnens and the palace, is just, Harkonnen guards and an ornithopter and everything. I'm going to say probably 5.5, 6 Shai-Hulud.
Okay.
If I'm going to be objective to the rest of my other ratings.
What have we ever done that?
That's true. I'll say 6 Shai-Hulud. Okay. Because watching Duncan be a badass, scared, like roll that nat 20 intimidation check, and then also like have the best flying in the Imperium is real fucking badass.
Yeah. I was going to go up towards the 7 range.
Okay.
I mean, this week had everything, man. It had ornithopter rides. It had laser gun fights. It had Duncan Idaho.
The only thing better is if it had glow globes.
It's true. No glow globes on this one, but it had Duncan Idaho, big dog, and some guards. Love seeing that. We got deaf representation, which is cool. We got Paul failing to use the voice and then using the voice.
Yep.
We got to see the master at work, Jessica, using it. And yeah, okay. It's great.
I'll bump 6.5.
Okay, cool. So 6.5 and 7.
It's still not as good to me, but
we even got troops in formation walking down a hallway. You got to love to see that.
We do love a good bit of organization.
That's true. All right, cool. Well, that'll do it for this week. Thanks for sticking around through this exciting set of minutes with us. We will be back next week to continue the movie. And I honestly don't remember what happens next week because I've not watched the movie in quite some time. So I don't exactly remember what happens. So don't spoil it for me, please.
Well, I'll tell you this. Something happens.
Okay. That's good. You're not wrong.
We still have like an hour of movie left.
It's true. Cool. All right. Well, we will be back on Monday. As always, you can reach out to us on Twitter at the Dune Minute. Nope. At Dune Minute on Twitter. On Instagram, we're at the Dune Minute.
Yep.
And we are always looking at that email inbox. And if you'd like to send us something there, we can be reached at duneminute@gmail.com.
That's correct.
All right.
We'll be back on Monday with more episodes of the Dune Minute podcast. We will see you then.
See ya.